John from Jam Tribe. In today's video I'm going to be reviewing a Selle Anatomica saddle, which I've been wanting to do for quite a while. I've trial and tested this saddle extensively, but it's only now that I'm getting around to it a couple of years later. So, bit of background story. I used to work as a physiotherapist, so sort of anatomy and sort of ergonomics are something that does interest me, and often that goes hand in hand with saddle selection and bike fit, etc. So what brought me about wanting to do the Selle Anatomica saddle review was a few years ago in 220 I was toying with the idea of attempting IndyPac 221, and I realized that as hard as that ride is, a lot of people drop out, often due to saddle pressure sores or injuries, and that's the end of their ride. And considering that I was wanting to do it and hopefully get to the end, I realized that I had to mitigate as many risks as I could, and one was pressure sores. And in that, selecting the ideal saddle played a huge part. In initial research, I spoke to a few people who had done that ride and other rides such as the Trans Am, and the name Selle Anatomica kept on coming up as a recommended saddle. People were swearing by them, and I thought, okay, if they're that good, I've eventually got to get one. So what I initially did was get on their site, look up what model would be ideal for me. I originally went with a H2 series Selle Anatomica in black. So pretty much this is the saddle here. Just keep in mind this is the X series, but initially I selected the H2 series based on recommended rider weight, and that was between 86 kilograms to 113 kilograms, and all riders that ride over 100 miles a week. So I fitted into both of those slots at the time, and I thought, well, that's the one for me. So when I received that particular saddle, I put it on the bike, which I had set up for IndyPac, sort of with time trial bars, but in a very conservative, non-aggressive position. So I was still fairly upright. And to my disappointment, that saddle felt like a Brooks Professional I bought probably 20 years ago, and just couldn't get comfortable on it. So I did persevere. I did over 1,000 kilometers in roughly 4 weeks, and it still just felt incredibly uncomfortable. And I know a lot of it depends on your sort of bike fit, your body position, things like that. But no matter what I did, sort of following recommendations from the website for sit up and just going on my own knowledge of bike fit, just didn't work for me, and I wasn't getting any better. So then I thought, all right, I'll go for the X2 model, which was the weight sort of division down. I think that was from about 54 kilograms up to 86 kilograms on the website, recommended for riders that ride, I think, less than 50 miles per week. But I went based on weight. I purchased one of those online, and it was vastly different from the H2. It was basically looked the same model, but the leather was far softer, and it was comfortable straight out the box. I mean, really comfortable. The only issue I had with that saddle was it has a tension screw, which has about 55 millimeter of adjustment on it, and that's designed so when the leather, which will naturally stretch over the time you use it, you can tension this screw to adjust the saddle so it's comfortable and it's not sagging too much. However, I'd hardly used that saddle, and I was almost at the limit of the tension screw just within a couple of months, which was very disappointing. The plus was it was incredibly comfortable, and I'm now running that saddle on a specialized chisel hardtail mountain bike, and I do occasionally I'll do sort of 140 kilometres on the Mundabiddi trail on that, and I have sort of no issues with that. It's very comfortable. So back to the saddle. So this is the X model, or the X series. There's two different series I think this comes in. The one I've chosen is the lighter one. I think it's about 480 grams total. It consists of a cast aluminium sort of shell and stainless steel rails, I think the hollow rails. It's a modular design, meaning that it's something that you can service yourself. You don't have to send it into the company to service it. So if you need to change the leather skin, either put in a more firmer one or just replacing the existing one you've got when it's stretched fully over the years, then you can replace that yourself in theory using these Chicago screws, which basically are 2.5mm hex key screws that can allow you to remove the original skin and replace it with a new one or a different one. You can also even change out the rails from the stainless steel hollow rails to carbon rails if you should choose. That's the adjuster screw there. It takes I think a 6mm wrench, which is the end, and you just apply tension on that as needed when the saddle even softens or starts to sag too much for your liking, and you need to adjust the comfort levels. So it's a pretty simple concept. I think and it also has a sort of slot here which will flex quite a bit, and the idea here is it's supposed to take pressure of the perineum region. So just back on the subject of saddle sores, they're usually caused by sort of prolonged sitting on a saddle and how your weight's distributed, as well as your chosen saddle and your position on the bike, to sort of key contributing factors, although there are other factors, but these are sort of two key ones, and the ones that I was sort of considering when I was trying to sort of choose a saddle for Indy Pack, as I mentioned before. The way I see it, the sort of two main areas that are going to be at risk for pressure sores are your ischial tuberosities, or your sit bones, and these are going to be more sort of, the sit bones are going to be more distributed in this area. And the second area of concern is your perineum or perennial area, and this is the area basically between your genitals and your anus. Okay, and depending on your position on your bike, either of those areas can be subjected to sort of greater pressure. More upright, I would say, as a general rule, if you sit more upright, it's going to be the sit bones that might be a concern, and you can develop pressure ulcers there, especially on prolonged sort of endurance cycling events like Indy Pack. Or if you're in a bit more aggressive position on the aero bars and you've got your pelvis rotated more forward, you're going to be at more risk of creating pressure sores in that sort of perineum area, just determined by position. Also, seat position can have a big factor on that, as I've sort of alluded to before. So you will often see some sort of endurance cyclists have their seats sort of tilted nose down quite significantly, and I can only guess that's that reason. And depending on the model of the seat, I found with this one on my mountain bike, on my Specialized Chisel hardtail, it's most comfortable if I've got the nose tilted up significantly, but I'm in a much more upright position as compared to, say, a bike that I would be doing a sort of road ultra endurance event on, where I'm going to be predominantly on the aero bars with my pelvis rotated forward. So look, I guess in summary, I think this seat's a really good seat, especially for endurance cyclists, but it can be used for commuting, just for any cyclist really. But it's one of the saddles that keeps on appearing at sort of ultra endurance events, so it's a popular choice amongst those style riders. I didn't find it perfect, especially on the sort of aero bars. I found that there was still some sort of pressure in this area here, no matter how I positioned it, and I was still developing early signs of pressure sores in the perineum, and that was a concern to me. I think it's important to take the website sort of guidance with a grain of salt regarding weight, because as I mentioned earlier, I followed their initial directions based on my weight and mileage, and the recommended saddle on the site was clearly not suitable to me. It was like worlds apart when I went back to order the X2 compared to the H2. So just keep that in mind, considering your weight, your riding style. These are currently, at time of this review, $171 US with the autumn special. Yeah, so in summary, I guess like I was very happy with the X2 model as opposed to the H2 for me personally. Of course, saddle selection is a very personal choice, and what suits one person may not necessarily suit another. However, I would say if you're considering endurance cycling, or you're an endurance cyclist and you're looking at something that's going to minimize the risk of pressure sores, this would be a saddle that's high up on my list of potential choices, given what else is out there. I will be reviewing a couple of other saddles in sort of my quest to find the holy grail of saddles for endurance events such as Indy Pack, and I'll look forward to presenting those on this Jam Tribe YouTube channel. If you like this review and you like the YouTube Jam Tribe channel, please subscribe.